Napoleon Bonaparte's name has echoed through history. He's remembered as a brilliant military strategist and a ruthless emperor. Born in Corsica in 1769, Napoleon rose to prominence during the French Revolution. He joined the French army as a young artillery officer. His tactical genius quickly became apparent. Napoleon's early campaigns in Italy were marked by decisive victories. He seemed invincible. He won battle after battle. This cemented his reputation as a military prodigy. The French people loved him. He returned to France a hero. His popularity only grew with each victory. The revolution had thrown France into chaos. Napoleon saw an opportunity. He seized power in a coup d'état in 1799. He established himself as first consul. This effectively ended the French Revolution. It also marked the beginning of Napoleon's ascent to absolute power. How did a man who had risen from such obscurity manage to take control of France? Napoleon's success could be attributed to his ambition, his charisma, and the chaotic political climate of the time. But could he hold on to power? The answer lay in his ability to bring stability and glory to a nation weary of revolution. Napoleon, now the undisputed leader of France, embarked on a series of military campaigns. His goal was to expand French influence and secure his position. Napoleon's armies clashed with the forces of Austria, Britain, Prussia, and Russia. These conflicts became known as the Napoleonic Wars. One of Napoleon's most significant victories came at the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805. He decisively defeated a larger Austro-Russian force. This victory established France as the dominant power in Europe. Napoleon's military prowess was undeniable. He seemed unstoppable on the battlefield. Napoleon's empire stretched from Spain in the west to Poland in the east. He implemented a series of reforms. These aimed to modernize the legal systems and administration of the conquered territories. The Napoleonic Code, a comprehensive legal system, was introduced in many parts of Europe. It left an indelible mark on legal systems worldwide. However, the seeds of Napoleon's downfall were being sown even as he celebrated his victories. The constant warfare drained French resources. His ambition and relentless pursuit of power created enemies both abroad and at home. Could Napoleon maintain his grip on power? Would his empire withstand the growing pressure from all sides? Napoleon's early military campaigns in Italy were nothing short of extraordinary. His strategic brilliance and audacity were evident from the very beginning. He took on the seasoned armies of Austria, a formidable power at the time. The Austrian forces were well-trained and well-equipped, making them a daunting adversary. His troops were often outnumbered and out-resourced. Despite these challenges, Napoleon's leadership and tactical genius shone through. Yet, Napoleon consistently outmaneuvered his opponents. His ability to anticipate enemy movements and exploit their weaknesses was unparalleled. He secured a series of stunning victories. Each triumph bolstered the morale of his troops and solidified his reputation as a military prodigy. His Italian campaign wasn't just a display of military brilliance. It was a comprehensive demonstration of his strategic acumen and innovative thinking. It was a masterclass in logistics and strategy. Napoleon meticulously planned every detail, ensuring that his forces were always one step ahead. Napoleon ensured his troops were well supplied. He understood that an army marches on its stomach, and he left nothing to chance. He also understood the importance of morale. His speeches and personal interactions with his soldiers inspired loyalty and determination. His charisma and leadership inspired his men. They believed in his vision and were willing to endure hardships for the promise of victory. They were willing to follow him even into the heart of battle. This unwavering loyalty was a testament to Napoleon's exceptional leadership. Seeking to strike at Britain's trade routes to India, Napoleon launched a daring expedition to Egypt. This ambitious move was part of his grand strategy to weaken British influence. He envisioned a French presence in the east. Establishing a foothold in Egypt would open new avenues for French expansion and trade. This would challenge British dominance. By disrupting their trade routes, Napoleon aimed to cripple Britain's economic power. The Egyptian campaign, while ultimately a military failure, had a profound cultural impact. It brought Europe face to face with the rich history and culture of ancient Egypt. The discovery of the Rosetta Stone by Napoleon's expedition unlocked the secrets of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. This was a monumental breakthrough in the field of archaeology. Despite setbacks in Egypt, Napoleon's reputation as a military genius remained intact. his ability to inspire and lead was undiminished. He returned to France a hero. The people celebrated his achievements and looked to him for future victories. His victories had secured his position and fueled his ambition. Napoleon's sights were now set on greater political power. Napoleon was no longer content with being a general. His ambitions extended beyond the battlefield. He set his sights on the highest office in France. The stage was set for Napoleon to transform from a military leader to a political powerhouse. Section 4. Crowning himself emperor. By 1804, Napoleon's power was undeniable. His military prowess and strategic brilliance had already made him a legend in his own time. The people of France saw him as a hero who had brought stability and glory to the nation. He had consolidated his control over France. Through a series of political maneuvers and military victories, he had eliminated his rivals and secured his position as the leader of the nation. His reforms had transformed the French government and society, laying the foundation for a new era. He had achieved peace with Austria and Britain. These treaties not only ended years of conflict but also enhanced his reputation as a statesman capable of negotiating with the great powers of Europe. The peace treaties were a testament to his diplomatic skills and his vision for a stable Europe. Recognizing the opportunity to solidify his rule, Napoleon orchestrated his own coronation as Emperor of the French. This was not a mere act of vanity, it was a calculated move to legitimize his authority and ensure the continuity of his reforms. This event, held at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, was a spectacle of grandeur and power. The ceremony was meticulously planned to showcase the might and splendor of the new French Empire. Dignitaries from across Europe attended, witnessing the birth of a new era. Napoleon's coronation was significant for several reasons. It was a bold statement of his ambition and his vision for France. By placing the crown on his own head, he symbolized his belief in his destiny and his right to rule. It marked the end of the French Republic and ushered in the First French Empire. This transition was not just a change in title, it represented a new phase in French history, one that would be defined by Napoleon's vision and leadership. The coronation was not merely a symbolic gesture, it was a calculated political move. Napoleon understood the importance of legitimacy and the need to establish a stable and enduring government. By becoming emperor, he aimed to create a dynasty that would secure his legacy. By assuming the title of emperor, Napoleon sought to legitimize his rule and establish a dynasty that would outlive him. He envisioned a future where his descendants would continue to lead France, ensuring the stability and prosperity of the nation. However, his coronation also alienated some of his former allies. Many saw his actions as a betrayal of the revolutionary ideals he once championed. The transformation from a republic to an empire was seen by some as a step backward. European monarchs saw him as an upstart, a threat to the established order. His rise to power challenged the traditional monarchies of Europe, and his ambitions made him a formidable adversary. The balance of power in Europe was shifting, and many were uneasy about what the future held. His ambition and his insatiable thirst for power would soon plunge Europe back into a series of bloody conflicts. The Napoleonic Wars, which had already caused so much devastation, were far from over. Napoleon's quest for dominance would lead to further turmoil and suffering. The Napoleonic Wars were far from over. The conflicts that followed would test the resilience and resolve of nations across Europe. The battles would be fierce, and the stakes would be high. Napoleon's ambition was a double-edged sword. It had brought him to the pinnacle of power, but it also made him enemies. His relentless pursuit of glory and control would ultimately lead to his downfall. It had brought him to the pinnacle of power, but it also made him enemies. The alliances he had formed were fragile, and the opposition he faced was growing stronger. The coming years would be a true test of his leadership and his ability to navigate the complex political landscape of Europe. The coming years would test his leadership and his military genius like never before. The challenges he faced would be immense, and the decisions he made would shape the future of Europe. The fate of France, and indeed of Europe, hung in the balance. Napoleon's actions would determine the course of history, and the world would be watching as he navigated the turbulent waters of power and ambition. Section 5. The Grande Armée on the march. Napoleon's Grande Armée was one of the most formidable military forces in history. It was a symbol of his ambition and military genius, a force that struck fear into the hearts of his enemies and inspired loyalty among his troops. It was a well-equipped and highly disciplined fighting force. The soldiers were trained rigorously and their discipline was unmatched, making them a formidable opponent on any battlefield. At its peak, the Grande Armée numbered over 500,000 men. This massive force was a testament to Napoleon's ability to mobilize and maintain such a large army, a feat that was unprecedented at the time. It was composed of soldiers from all corners of Napoleon's vast empire. These men came from different backgrounds and regions, united under the banner of the Grande Armée, showcasing the diversity and reach of Napoleon's influence. Napoleon's military campaigns were a testament to his strategic brilliance. He meticulously planned his battles, often outmaneuvering his enemies with his innovative strategies and keen understanding of warfare. He employed innovative tactics, such as the use of mobile artillery and the corps system. These tactics allowed him to be flexible and responsive on the battlefield, giving him a significant advantage over his adversaries. This allowed him to move troops and supplies quickly, striking his enemies with overwhelming force. The speed and efficiency of his army were key factors in his numerous victories. Napoleon's victories at Jena and Auerstedt in 1806 effectively crippled Prussian military power, further solidifying his control over Central Europe. These battles demonstrated the effectiveness of his military strategies and the prowess of his army. However, maintaining such a vast empire through military might came at a cost. The constant state of war took a toll on the soldiers, many of whom were exhausted and battle-weary. The constant wars and the need to maintain a large army drained French resources. The economy was strained, and the burden of supporting such a massive military force was felt across the empire. The Napoleonic Code, while intended to unify the empire under a single legal system, was often met with resistance in conquered territories, leading to unrest and uprisings. The imposition of French laws and customs was not always welcomed, and many regions resisted this forced assimilation. Napoleon's ambition, while initially a driving force behind his success, was slowly becoming his undoing. His relentless pursuit of power and expansion began to overextend his resources and alienate his supporters. The endless wars and his growing arrogance would eventually alienate his allies and lead him down a path of self-destruction. The loyalty of his allies waned as they grew weary of the constant conflict and Napoleon's insatiable ambition. The year 1812 marked a turning point in Napoleon's fortunes. His decision to invade Russia would prove to be a catastrophic mistake, one that would have dire consequences for his empire. His disastrous invasion of Russia would shatter the myth of his invincibility and set in motion the events that would lead to his downfall. The harsh Russian winter and the fierce resistance of the Russian army decimated his forces, marking the beginning of the end for Napoleon's reign.